This is the Pulsebeat. It's said that every inspiration starts with a spark, and we're here to ignite a fire. Join us as we showcase conversations from esteemed experts in a multitude of specialties. You'll find experts discussing topics that stimulate, inspire, and encourage. From the famous and familiar to the lesser known, the Pulsebeat will be your go-to for stirring up a sense of truth and optimism. A podcast that pulses truth with every interview and story, bringing hope into dark places.
Well, welcome everybody. This is Lisa Hill, and we want to welcome you to the show called the Pulsebeat, where we really talk to individuals that are really making a difference, which really are the pulse of our life, pulse of America, pulse of the healing arts that we talk about all the time. And they're really making a big difference. So we bring you interesting, very unique, credible, fantastic people every week. And two of these individuals that I'm so excited to talk to and introduce all of you to, we have Dr. Tom and then we have Dr. Joe. Both of these gentlemen have chosen to go into the field of oral health, and they're amazingly successful. And they're going to talk a little bit about what brought them into dentistry, what brought Dr. Joe into oral health, oral surgery, ultimately, adequate oral health, but also the products that they put together. So we have something to take home with us, not only the information that you're hearing, but also the products that can take care of your oral health on a daily basis. We were just talking before how in the last few years, people have neglected their oral health and their oral care. So again, welcome to the call, guys.
Thank you, Lisa. It's an honor and a privilege to be here. It's a blessing to be on your show. So thanks for the invite.
Absolutely. Thanks, Lisa, for the great intro. I appreciate it. I'm excited to share our message about our business and our products on your wonderful show.
Well, I just know that you're going to continue to change a lot of people's lives because, when I first went into medicine, I knew nothing about dentistry. I just knew that our parents taught us how to brush our teeth. And then I went into alternative care and I learned that, my goodness, fluoride isn't good for us. What do we do next, right? So I'm excited that you guys have really picked up the torch and you're running with it to help people with ultimately their overall body health. But well, let's start with you, Dr. Tom. How did you start on the field of dentistry?
Well, I've always been, as a young kid, I've always been interested in medicine and science projects. As I was raised in a lake place in northern Minnesota in the summertime, I always wondered about three things. I wondered about what does it look like at the bottom of a lake? What does it look like inside the body, the human body? And how does the human body work? And so I got the answers to the first couple because I became a scuba diver, and I became rescue certified as a scuba diver, nearly lost my life in Lake Superior.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that's a whole other story. So, and then I went to work for Fairview Southdale Hospital as an autopsy assistant, and I got to see the inside of a lot of bodies. And I'm still trying to figure out how God created this grand design that it's perfection. And we've taken, and I think in science and in dentistry, like we were talking previously, we've kind of messed it all up. And we've taken a lot of things out of context, and we're doing like fluoride, mercury, amalgam, and that kind of thing. And we're not balancing the oral microbiome like we should. So, but I had a couple of people who influenced me to go into dentistry because I didn't want to go into medicine because I thought it would be, I chose not to go into medicine. I chose to go into dentistry. I'll just put it that way.
Perfect. Well, you know what is, I raised my children on Lake Superior, so I know how dangerous that lake can be. It can, it looks so beautiful, clean and pristine, but golly, it takes you straight down and it's a scary, scary lake.
It was the Madeira shipwreck.
Oh my goodness.
2 inlets, 2 harbors, 2 inlets. So that's, like I said, that's a whole other story I can share with you someday.
Isn't it true that the stories, though, of our background and have kind of propelled us to where we are today?
Yeah.
Well, I'm excited that you chose dentistry because that's a field that I think you've helped a lot of people, haven't you?
Well, we've tried. God's blessed us with the knowledge and the forethought and the wherewithal to see people through. And I have a lot of people look at me and they'll say, "Tom, you saved my life," and I'm like, "No, he saved your life. I'm just the assistant to the great physician." But so I work through the Lord, and He, allows me to do what He's enabled me to do. That's the way I look at it.
But that's again what makes you so special. I mean, a lot of people don't acknowledge our Lord and Savior. That's amazing. I know there are people ask me all the time, what's the difference between dentistry and holistic dentistry?
Well, how long do we have?
I know, right?
Well, let me answer it this way. I'd say 50% of what we learned in dentistry in dental school was wrong. So, but being a student of dentistry, you don't know which 50% is wrong. So you have to kind of figure that out. So, but holistic dentistry looks at the mouth as part of the whole body system, and instead of just drill, fill, and build dentistry, which is I really got frustrated doing drill, fill, and build dentistry because I didn't feel like I was really helping anybody, and I felt that there was a missing link with nutrition. And so, fast forward, I went to a conference in Nashville, Tennessee, where it was the American Nutraceutical Association, and I met chiropractors, MDs, and DDSs that all had it figured out, and I'm like, wow, this is a real revelation here. So I went back home, told my hygienist about it. She thought I was crazy. And she's really smart. She was a lot like Cortland Joe. And so, but I sent her to a seminar, an American nutraceutical seminar in California, and she came back. She goes, "Wow, this is brilliant. This is really fun."
And what year was that? What year was that, Dr. Tom?
Mid '90s.
Okay.
Mid-90s. So, so I've learned by trial and error, but I had this feeling that nutrition had a lot to do with it. And voila, fast forward, I was right.
Well, I remember reading about Dr. Weston Price, right?
Yes.
And when he started to come out with all of his information and data, I was fascinated by that.
The other guy was Hal Huggins.
Correct.
Yeah. So Hal Huggins and Weston A. Price, and Weston A. Price went around and looked at populations that had wide arches and then really nice teeth, no decay, and they ate native diets. So no matter where they lived, they ate their native diets and they didn't have any decay, etc., which was a revelation. And then he became the head of the dentistry. I think at that point in time, it wasn't the American Dental Association; it was the National Dental Association. He was the first board member of the National Dental Association, and then I don't know what happened, but they got rid of him, and then the Flexner report came out, and they got rid of all the chiropractors and labeled us all as quacks, except for the pharmaceutical industry, and they took over medicine. That's the short story.
Well, that's a short story, but it carries a big punch, and I think just the last probably 3.5 years have taught people a lot, and they're seeking other alternatives because what was working in the past isn't working anymore.
That's right.
And we want to preserve our health. So, but over to you, Dr. Joe. We're so excited to have you on the call. And I've always thought about the stress of an oral surgeon and what I worked in an OR suite for many, many years, and I kept, I never was in on oral surgery, but can you share with everybody, what brought you into this field of holistic oral surgery?
Well, I think, Lisa, you're from Michigan, the Great Lakes area.
Yes. Yeah.
Same. I went to dental school up in Michigan, and while in dental school, I was really turned on to oral surgery. I think that really kind of combined the areas of anesthesia, pathology, surgery, all into one. And it was really the best specialty in medicine, and it happened to be in dentistry. So ended up training partially at the University of Miami, and then came to do my residency in med school in Nashville. And really, for the longest time, had a conventional oral surgery practice, and started to drift into the holistic type setting when I started seeing, some of my anesthesia patients who are really unhealthy. And then, in talking to, for example, patients who have had bariatric surgery and lost a lot of weight. Well, just by losing weight, all of a sudden, miraculously, these patients would cure their hypertension, their diabetes, and it was just all because of just a lifestyle change. So
Yep. Yep.
I started learning and understanding that, big pharma it's not really helping us. I think it's enabling a lot of people, and that a lot can be done organically and holistically. And I think if you look at our products, I think that reflects kind of that philosophy of less is more. We're trying to be the anti-big pharma products. The ingredients that are in our products are simple, they're natural, and they kind of work with the body to promote healing in and of itself. I know we're here to speak a lot about nitric oxide, and our toothpaste is one of the products that has nitric oxide in there. Yes. And not only that, but I think some of the ingredients that are in there can promote the effectiveness and of the nitric oxide in the body.
Yeah.
So when did you start noticing that nitric oxide was an important element of health in the mouth?
Recently, because there really became a buzzword recently, and then for whatever reason, Dr. Tom brought it up, and he had been on it for a lot longer than that. So he's really kind of on the pulse of that. And just to have an opportunity to incorporate dentistry and the effectiveness of nitric oxide was pretty impressive. And Dr. Tom has been able to measure that and incorporate that into our products. And it was just over my head as far as his knowledge. And we've made it happen. And, we're proud to say it's one of the few products that incorporates that technology into our products.
This is so exciting. I didn't know, until I met Dr. Tom, that there was actually a toothpaste that had nitric oxide, and how it stimulates the nitric oxide in your oral cavities in your mouth. But you touched on something just a minute ago that I wanted to reiterate, and that's, the pharmaceutical realm, and how people were years ago, and I'm sure today, right? They're having the lap band, and they're having all these different surgeries to initiate weight loss. But now we're into the Ozempic that I think I just listened to a doctor this morning talking about it, and it was horrific. The side effects of that medication, I think we're going to see them years and years to come. And imagine what's happening. I used to take care of patients, of course, when they go through chemo and post-op and all of that. And a lot of them would start losing their teeth right away, even if they went through the bariatric surgery or something of that nature. So what do you think about, the whole pharmaceutical road that people are taking and the oral health? I guess my other question is, when did you start understanding that all these years? Remember back in the days, we would have to go to school and we'd take a fluoride pill in our mouth. Oh my goodness. Think about that.
Well, way back in dental school, when I entered, I opted out of biochemistry my first year in dental school because I had quite a bit of biochemistry, and I worked with a guy named Leon Singer, who was a PhD in biochemistry. And we did an experiment measuring the fluoride ion concentration across the enamel matrix. And this is back in the University of Minnesota in the late 70s. And Dr. Leon Singer took this Durafat, which is a fluoride-containing substance, and he painted it on oral surgical extracted teeth. And we measured the ionophoretically, we measured the ion concentration across the enamel matrix in 9 weeks. Do you know what it was? Do you know how much fluoride ion migrated across the enamel matrix in nine weeks?
Wow.
So let me ask you this. So if I'm a dentist and I'm doing fluoride treatments and I'm doing a minute fluoride treatment, how much fluoride is going to migrate across the enamel matrix? And the thing is, even if it did, it doesn't do anything anyway except make you sick. It screws up your thyroid, it screws up everything. It can cause preeclampsia in women. It can cause a hardening of the pineal gland in your brain, and it mixes with it's just nasty stuff. It doesn't work, and it doesn't solidify enamel at all. So we came up with a product called Silidin. And so, Joe, why don't you talk about Silidin for a little bit?
Yeah, the Silidin product.
Silidin, so the ingredient in Silidin is orthosilicic acid, and that is the most easily absorbable form of silica.
Right.
And that is a mineral that our body needs that we are chronically deficient. Yes. And with silica, the body utilizes silica for, think, connective tissue, ligaments, cartilage,
Glycoamiliglycans.
yes, hair, bone and teeth,
Yep.
things of that nature. So the orthosilicic acid will provide the silica to help with the connective tissue. And if you take a collagen supplement, for example, it'll help with the absorption of that as well.
Right.
Practically speaking, I'll put all of my dental implant patients on Silidin for at least a month prior to their dental implant surgery, just to optimize the site of the mouth for bone grafting or dental implant placement. And I've had great success with it. And, patients report to me well after their implants are placed and successful that they continue to use it. And I see them in my hallway buying more.
Wow.
So it's a mineral supplement that helps with primarily collagen. And in the dental field, it's extremely helpful.
It also has boron and manganese and GAG. And we've seen in our practice, somebody comes in with incipient decay on a film that hasn't crossed into the dentin yet, and we put them on Silidin, and we've seen remineralization in the enamel.
Wow, that's huge.
Yeah, and silica is the second. I think I was reading it's the second largest substance on the planet. And
wow.
the problem with silica, there's a silica shortage and a calcium overabundance in our bodies, and but silicon is a really necessary element. And as we age, we make less and less and less. Or we don't make it; we absorb it. But
Right.
orthosilicic acid is found in beer. In dark beer, and Joe and we decided, well, how can we advance this? We decided we'd buy a brewery and a distillery and make dark beer. Now we canceled that idea.
So you made this instead. Well, we also know how important silica is for hair, for nails, for skin, for eyes, for connective tissue.
Collagenous skin, yeah, you bet.
This is huge. And then we look at the toothpaste silica. Can you talk a little bit about the OxyMist?
Sure. Joe, you want to take a stab
This
at
is
that?
exciting.
Yeah, so OxyMist it's a real simple formulation, kind of going back to our holistic approach to our products. It contains just three ingredients. It's electrolyzed oxygenated water, a diluted hypochlorous acid, I think 150 parts per million, and some salt, 2 salts.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's really used primarily for anti-inflammatory purposes. We've got a label for cosmetic. So, for example, for our label's purposes, you can have a sunburn and you just mist your face a couple of times, and it'll really take away pain and help with inflammation. So I know, for example, Cortland, she is a big member of our team. She's had her second baby, and she uses it for diaper rash. And my kids are young enough to where when they had diaper rash, we would use it as well.
Wow.
So it's so hypochlorous acid is actually a substance that's produced by the white blood cells. So it's about as natural as you can get. So we're able to bottle it so it has a shelf life and a lot of practical uses. So at our dilution, it's really good for, like I said, inflammation outside of the skin. Sometimes I'll use it in the mouth just for like a full mouth extraction. We don't quite have that label yet, but there's a lot of applications for it, and it's very simple.
Well, that's exciting. The other thing that you have on all of your products is anti-aging DDS, NMD, MD endorsed. That's huge. That's really huge. Again, congratulations.
Both Dr. Joe and I are certified with the American Academy of Anti-Aging Medicine.
That's
forever.
amazing.
And that's
Yeah,
what
we're
really
probably the only company. Well, I would venture to guess we're the only dental company with founded by two dentists who are also members and fellows of the American Academy of Anti-Aging Medicine, Anti-Aging and Regenerative Medicine. So our credentials are really kind of
That's
unique,
huge.
and that's we feel like that philosophy kind of speaks through our products.
Well,
Plus,
this is so exciting. I mean, this is so exciting because the one area that I think a lot of people are stumped at right now is oral care. They hear about fluoride, they hear the negatives, they have, dentists forcing them to take it or encouraging them to take it. You have all the media, you have all the marketing that talks about fluoride, and then here you guys come along. I'm personally so excited about it because, again, when you look at when people started, remember back in the day when individuals were having this, they all said, oh, you have to take tons of calcium. People were ending up with, they started doing the DEXA scans, and that was a big thing. You had to go in and test your bone density. Well, and then they started giving them a pharmaceutical drug. Well, then the drug, all it does is make your bones like Swiss cheese.
Mm-hmm.
Then there was the imbalance. You said earlier, the imbalance between calcium, silica, and magnesium. You should be taking more magnesium versus calcium than the type of calcium as well. So the fact that you guys, I believe that you guys are going to be the biggest story in dental and oral care because you've done it. Number one, you've done everything right. You've been doing it for quite a while. You have a huge success story. So we're talking about everything that you can take topically, right? And then we're excited about the new collaboration with Cardio Miracle.
That's
So
amazing.
maybe you can talk a little bit about how, so this is to be taken internally. Everything else you take topically, use topically. But what I think is exciting, just imagine if we can get everybody to start using this toothpaste over the other toothpaste that they're taking out there, how much healthier, their body's going to be. Because you yourself, Dr. Tom, described how every single tooth has a connection to an organ. Maybe you can go into, because that will feed right into what we're talking about with Cardio Miracle.
Well, let me start with the Cardio Miracle first, but yeah, you're right. There's a traditional Chinese medicine there's voltage connections between every tooth and every organ system and every collagenous source, and it's a pretty unique connection that most doctors and dentists don't even. I think they either don't know about it or they don't believe that it exists.
Wow.
But at any rate, the Cardio Miracle, I suffer with, or I struggle, I should say, with high blood pressure. And so when I've been experimenting around with the high blood pressure, and when I take it, my systolic pulse drops about 60 points.
Wow, that's huge.
Or 80, over 74 or so. But if I wake up in the morning, I haven't had Cardio Miracle, it's like 194 over 100. I'm like,
oh, wow.
And what I fear most is not that I live in fear, but what I'm concerned with the most is a stroke versus heart attack. So I've had some really good luck and success on my own. But I met John Hewlett, the founder and maker and at a conference in Nashville, and we had and you were there. We had booths right next to each other, and I showed him the toothpaste. I asked about the Cardio Miracle, and we, because John looks at the paste and he goes, "Well, Tom, this would boost nitric oxide." And I go, "John, that was by design, because we put potassium nitrate in there, and we put grape seed extract and cinnamon bark." And I did those test strips, those nitric oxide test strips that you can get in a can from Life or from Nathan Bryan, who's an expert in nitric oxide. But what nitric oxide is, so the audience understands, is that
I want to interrupt and say I've gotten pictures of those test strips at 9:30 at night after Tom brushed his teeth, saying it works, and I double checked and triple checked it. So he loves those strips to confirm the nitric oxide.
So nitric oxide is a gas, and it's produced in your arterioles. There's in each capillary, there's 60,000 miles. And I'd like to know who measures this, or who's measured 60,000 miles worth of arterioles. Not that I don't believe it, but I'm like, how do they really know? And they're saying there's 20,000 miles of capillary beds, which is the oxygen. It's all about oxygenation.
Yes,
Right?
yes.
It's all about oxygen. And oxygen and voltage, if your voltage is high, your oxygen levels are good, and then you make nitric oxide. But as we age, the nitric oxide levels decrease. And if you're a mouth breather, you're not getting enough oxygen. And if you have a diseased mouth, you're not getting enough oxygen. And what our product does is it increases an enzyme called eNOS, which stands for endothelial nitric oxide synthase, which produces nitric oxide in the capillary beds and in the arterioles. And what that does is that opens up the capillary beds so that more blood can flow through and more oxygen gets delivered to the cells, which is huge.
That is huge. And what are the things, I know myself, but what are the things that you've experienced that actually, will stop the production of nitric oxide when it comes to oral health?
I'm sorry, Lisa, say that again.
That's okay. What are some of the things that would inhibit the nitric oxide promotion within the veins and arteries of the body?
Do you want to take that one up, Joe?
That's your department.
We can scratch that one. That's okay. Why don't we go ahead and talk about, so when you started taking the nitric oxide product, what did you experience? Now, I know that you said your nitric oxide strips, you had better success with that, correct? And here you are in a toothpaste.
Well, I had more energy and with the Cardio Miracle, and I just had a better feeling. Plus, it reduced my stress level because I was getting concerned with my high blood pressure. Because my father died when he was 67 with a major heart attack at 57. His father, my grandfather, died at 43, age of 43 with a heart attack. And so
you beat them all.
I have.
Yes.
And I'm going on 29.
That's right. You're legal now.
Yeah. I won't tell you all.
And what do you see now, Dr. Joe, in your surgeries, in the lab? How many years have you been practicing?
25 years.
Wow.
Yeah,
and you look so young. That's great.
I appreciate it. I've seen people getting less healthy. I've seen obesity. So it's been long enough to where I've seen some changes. There's been a lot more obesity since the 90s when I was practicing. I think sedation has got a little bit more challenging as far as watching for health issues with patients and being cautious in sedating patients. Another kind of interesting fact. Say it again.
It's all about our diet.
Yeah.
Another interesting fact is
so many toxins, not only in dentistry, but in the diet. The number 1 and 2 disease states in the world, number 1 is dental cavities. Mm-hmm. Number 2 is periodontal disease. And periodontal disease has ramifications from prostate cancer, high blood pressure, eclampsia, all kinds of different situations where pancreatic cancer. There's a big connection between periodontitis and pancreatic cancer. So it's very important, and everybody understands that disease starts in the gut, but where does the gut start? The gut starts in the mouth, and the mouth has its own oral microbiome, and it has the oral microbiome, and as the microbiome in the gut has to be balanced.
Yeah,
you run into problems when you have an overabundance of bad bacteria versus good bacteria in the mouth and each organ system, including the nose, including the tongue, including the cheeks, they all have a specific microbiome that you have to pay attention to. And so our toothpaste was designed to and maybe I'm getting off track here a little bit, but our toothpaste was designed to help the microbiome, to lift and boost the microbiome. It's got fulvic acid, it's got bee pollen, which it has a lot of different nutrients. It's got a lot of essential oils in it, and et cetera, et cetera.
Well, I think this personally is so exciting because that's going to be a big problem. It is already, but in the future with, oral care, because we know that tissue demise and what's happening right now with the endothelial system and how you've already, nailed it with your products. But
Yeah.
then when you look at the Cardio Miracle, how taking it internally, over 700 different mechanisms and over 53 different nutrients. It's
Yeah.
pretty exciting. And, I often think about it. How in the world did John Hewlett put this product together? And he says all the time that it was a download from the Lord, right?
Mhm.
But you look at the different ingredients, like quercetin, for example. And I encourage everyone, if you're looking at this for the very first time and you're saying, I think I'm going to switch over from my other toothpaste to this toothpaste, get rid of that, the fluoride. At the same time, do your home inventory. If you have a cupboard full of, vitamin C and zinc and all these different nutrients, there's so much in here. If you just
Mhm.
read the panel alone, there's so much internally that you can take, and that will, feed your body and increase the nitric oxide in your whole entire system. But with that being said, what is so exciting right now, we're hearing straight across the board, people that had no even idea what a nitric oxide was or how it worked within the body and how the body actually metabolized it and how it was the missing link. What
Yeah.
John calls it is the molecule miracle, right? Miracle molecule, and
Miracle
how it helps to generate new tissues. Everything in our body is dependent upon the nitric oxide, and not the elimination of it, but the promotion of it. So I
Well,
think
that's because
personally,
it delivers oxygen into the hardest part of the cells, where the hardest part of cells to reach. And because of that, oxygen raises voltage. And if you ever read Jerry Tennant's book, Healing is Voltage, it's all
yeah,
about oxygenation and voltage.
yep,
And when that drops, disease, bugs and fungus and parasites start moving into these areas of low voltage, and they take over.
that's right. That's
And
right.
that's why you have to eat healthy, eat clean, detox, and do things smart, and take the right vitamins, and vitamin D3. You've got to have vitamin D3, and then you got to take vitamin K1 or K2 and K4
hmm
along with the
What I think
vitamin.
is interesting about the vitamin D, Dr. Tom, is when the first initial few studies came out about the Cardio Miracle product, one of the studies particularly talked about the vitamin D. And at that
Mhm.
time, and even today, everybody's concerned about how much vitamin D they're getting. And there's certain things that will stop the vitamin D production. The more synthetic the vitamin D is, your body doesn't accept it. But
Right.
also, many of the vitamin Ds are stored in the fat cells. So what
Mhm.
nitric oxide does, and what our white paper showed, is that it will actually help to pull the nitric oxide from being stored in your body to be accessible. So
Mhm.
that was just a kind of an incidental finding. But we have a very special guest on with us tonight. A little surprise for everybody. Miss Elizabeth, are you out there?
Hi, everybody.
Hey,
Hey,
Elizabeth.
there she
All right.
is.
Hi there.
Hi.
Now, this beautiful woman has been using the nitric oxide for how many in Cardio Miracle for how many years?
Oh, yeah, I love that stuff. I've been drinking Cardio Miracle for 6 years now. I'm 34. I started drinking Cardio Miracle when I was 28, if my math is correct.
Oh, that's so cool. And you've
And what
also been
kind?
using Dr. Tom's toothpaste.
I will not use anything else now. And also I have to say about toothpaste, I'm very particular. I've been aware of, toxins in toothpaste for a long time. The fluoride, the sulfites, the other
Mhm.
3-letter ingredients that you don't want and all that stuff. But
Sodium
it's such
lauryl
a great
sulfate.
Yeah.
consistency. What did you say, Dr. Tom?
Sodium lauryl sulfate.
There
It's
we
a
go. That's what it is.
foaming
Yep.
agent. It's
Yep.
toxic.
Yes. And so I just love that your toothpaste because it's got such a good consistency and I feel like it really cleans my mouth. It's almost has like an active feeling. Like that's just
Mhm.
me. I'm not saying it's actually feels active, but my mouth just feels like alive after I brush my teeth with it. So
You're looking
it's
good.
great.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
you're looking fantastic. So again,
Thank
everything
you.
that I mean, you were there in Nashville and I introduced you to Dr. Tom and his mission. And at that time you were going through you were having some dental issues, weren't you?
I definitely I think my whole life, I always, I'm finally understanding that, to what Dr. Tom was saying about, we really have to take care of ourselves. We have to eat right. We have to do those detoxes. We have to support our immune system. I think, because so I've always struggled with, bleeding gums. And I always thought, well, maybe because it wasn't, I didn't floss enough. But then I started flossing. It helped it some, but I still had some of that going on. So I was like, well, there's clearly something else going on, because obviously this is inflammation.
Right.
So between Cardio Miracle and Dr. Tom's toothpaste, my gums don't bleed anymore. I mean, I don't mean to say, treat, cure, diagnose, but both of these things are a miracle.
Yes,
And they
yes.
complement each other, because when you drink the Cardio Miracle, you're activating, as far as I understand it, you're activating your sublingual pathway, and then you're also activating your gut. So you're getting a double whammy there, but then you're brushing your teeth and further stimulating and getting that into the sublingual and below the sublingual, whatever that is. I don't know. You guys could tell me, but I know it's good.
But that was exciting when you started having positive results with your products. And then, of course, with the Cardio Miracle, I mean, that turned your life around as well.
Cardio Miracle is more like a food.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it really is.
You're right. You hear Dr. Judy Mukovich talk about it all the time. She said it's just a food.
Judy's brilliant.
Oh, isn't she though?
Yeah.
Yeah, she is. But again, what I think is so interesting is we do one thing right over here, right? But then if we don't, we do all these other things. If we don't do the other things right,
yes,
we're only getting half of our health.
Well,
if we're taking
disease starts in the mouth. Everybody will say disease starts in the gut. No, it starts in the mouth. You got to get the microbiome right.
So I want everybody to really understand what he just said. He said it doesn't start in the gut; it starts in the mouth.
Lisa, I'd like to say something. Oh, sorry. Yes. Go ahead, Dr. Tom.
No, I was just going to say that's where your gut starts, is in the mouth. And like we said before, your microbiome is specific to each area, in the gut and in the mouth. So it's a balance. It's a balancing act between good and bad bacterium, and that's what the toothpaste is designed to do, and the OxyMist and the Silidin.
I love this.
I was Doctora. Am I saying that right?
Doctora.
That's such a cool name. It sounds like a superhero name.
I appreciate it. People don't forget that name. That's for sure.
No.
That's for sure. So when you were talking about the mist, because I have some of that too, I've really just been using it on my face as like a refresher mist. I'm wondering though too, if I could use that, like you said, sometimes you'll squirt it in the mouth, but it sounds like the psilocybin, which I'm very excited. I'm going to be committing to that as part of my regimen, to deal with some remaining things that I'm dealing with. But I think, and I was going to tell a story too. I was in the dentist recently, and I was just looking around, and obviously, hearing from you, Dr. Tom and Dr. Doctora, just all these amazing people that, I've come to know as I've become in this health industry. I was in the dentist and I was looking around, and I'm just like, this is one of the most toxic industries. I mean, you got the x-rays, you got the fluoride, so you know what I did the last time? I took nascent iodine and I put it in my mouth before I went to the dentist. And Dr. Tom,
well, we're all 95% of the world is iodine deficient.
Yeah.
And Brownstein and some of the other guys that do iodine. I mean, iodine is huge. It's because iodine. One of the functions of iodine is balances your alkalinity.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So
and maybe you can touch on that just a little bit about the mouth is mostly acid, correct, Tom?
Mm-hmm. Well, you want a pH of 7, which is neutral, but the mouth tends to be between 5 and 6.5% or pH wise. So you have to, so you need to take 12.5 milligrams of iodine per day, according to David Brownstein and Jorge Fletcher, those are the two gurus that I listen to when it comes to iodine function. So in iodine, one of the things that iodine will do is it'll alkalinize your system.
I actually didn't know that. That's amazing. I thought it was like
if you're doing fluoride rinses, then suppressing T4 to T3 production.
That's
Oh,
right.
bad.
And iodine is being replaced by fluoride, and so you're screwing up your thyroid gland. So you need to pump off the gland. You need to help out the thyroid gland with iodine.
Right.
Well, this is exciting. I know we're going to give our listeners and viewers a chance to be able to order your product. And Elizabeth, maybe you can share where they can go to order your product. And then, of course, there's a code for people that want to. Dr. Tom has a code for the Cardi Miracle. What I think is so exciting is, you have Dr. Bernstein, myself, Dr. Joe, and Dr. Tom is a Michigan wannabe. How's that? You're on the border. Oh. We tend to pretend we own Lake Superior, but isn't it amazing? So many of us are from Michigan.
Yeah, I'm shocked. Who was the first guy you mentioned?
Dr. Berenstein.
Oh, he's from Michigan? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Didn't know that.
Yeah. So about 30 years ago, we started doing our very first health seminars down in Detroit. And we would do them. He would be our keynote speaker for quite a few years because he was the only one. I couldn't get another doctor to talk about the things that he was unveiling and talking to us about. Yeah. So he's an absolute hero, and you guys are as well, for picking up the gauntlet and running forward when it comes to oral health. This is just, I think this is going to be an eye opener and a solution for so many people that have yet to hear about you. And I think the combination, as we continue to collaborate with other people in this field, in the space that we're in, to bring ultimate healing 3.5 years later after people have been struggling with it. You mentioned the pineal gland, Dr. Tom. Maybe you can talk a little bit about that. How the pineal gland, people don't understand what that means when it becomes calcified and how many things are designed to do that.
Now, I didn't research that, so I probably have to cut that one out.
Okay. That's okay.
I could make up some stuff, but I don't.
No, that's okay. But the pineal gland calcification is important. Yeah, absolutely.
I don't say pineal or pineal gland.
Yeah.
It's yeah. So we'll leave that for another time. How about that?
Okay, perfect. No worries whatsoever. So they can order your products, and then we're going to move ahead and continue to talk about all the things that I think the Lord has laid on your both of you gentlemen, your hearts to move forward in this field of oral health and oral care. What do you see as far as the next generation of dentistry? What is that going to look like?
Well, when I first moved to Nashville, people would ask me, well, so what do you do? And I say, I'm a biological dentist. They're like, what the heck is that? Where's a biological dentist? And I said, well, in about 10 years, you're going to, and this was back in the 2012, 2010 era. And I said, you watch, within about 10 years, everybody's going to be claiming to be a biological or holistic dentist, because that's what people want. That's what the patients want.
Yeah. Yeah.
They want whole body care. And what I tell, when I lecture to dentists, what I tell them is that when mom comes in and she asks you specific things about genetics or whatever for her kids, and do you use fluoride, etc. What they're doing is they're interviewing you, and if you don't pull the mark, they're gone, and they'll find somebody else who is. So holistic and biological dentistry encompasses the whole body, the whole realm, so there's the IABDM, there's the IOMT, there's the International Association of Orthodontics, and what they deal with is breathing and widening the mouth so that you can get proper air function. So in other words, proper oxygenation. And then what other conferences? Well, there's the A4M that Joe and I mentioned that we both belong to. So I think in medicine and in dentistry and in chiropractic, things are going more toward the holistic realm. An interesting patient of mine who's a nurse practitioner, brilliant nurse practitioner, she says to me, she goes, this is just about a year ago. She says, Tom, when I went to school, we learned that everybody was different. Everybody had a different chemistry and everybody was different. Then we get out of school and we treat everybody the same.
That's true, isn't it?
Yeah, I just cracked up. I go, you're exactly right. So it's treating the whole body and the whole patient, and not just with big pharma. Big pharma I'm hoping in the end, they're so powerful now that they're in control. But their crazy commercials are just stop right there.
Yeah. Well, you know what was interesting too? I read an article where just a simple mouthwash reduces your nitric oxide in your body. A regular, simple.
It decreases endothelial nitric oxide synthase, so you can't make
Correct.
any salivary nitric oxide. So use OxyMist for your.
That's fantastic.
And within a couple of months, right, Joe? Within a couple of months, Cap, one of our guys, they've spent millions of dollars for the Food and Death Administration trying to get this thing, trying to get the OxyMist warranted for intraoral use.
Wow.
And it's getting very close because it's a complete, like we've said, it's a completely safe, non-toxic material.
Yeah, that's exciting.
And that'll balance the oral microbiome instead of destroy it.
Yeah.
Right,
well,
Joe?
I think it's really exciting what we can do now, the tools that we have. Years ago, we never had these tools. We didn't have Cardi Miracle. We didn't have, all of your Pearl products, and times are very different. So now when you look at, I really encourage everyone to do a health house cleaning. Go through and see how many of your oral care products have fluoride in them, how many have sodium lauryl sulfate. I mean, you name it, a lot. And if you look at some of the ingredients in some of these and you think that's the same chemical makeup as what you put in your car. Yeah. I mean, antifreeze is the same chemical makeup. And then, they don't see anything.
It's propylene glycol. It's antifreeze.
Yep.
The Food and Health Administration says we can't put potassium nitrate in stuff because it's, for whatever reason, they're wrong about that. But you can put propylene glycol.
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
It makes no sense. No sense
not at all. Not at all. Perfect. So everybody, you're going to see the offer up on the screen. You're going to be able to order the Cardi Miracle using Dr. Tom's code, Dr. Joe's code, as well as the Oral Health Pearl products. You do not want to go back and use the other ones. Use them for floor scrubber or something. I don't know, tile scrubber, tile cleaner. Throw them away. Yeah, exactly. But this really is going to help because at the end of the day, a lot of things cross the blood-brain barrier. And we know that, the old fillings that a lot of us had put in when we were younger and a lot of the heavy metals and so on destroy. And because the nitric oxide is so needed in our body, anything to decrease that, anything to abort the production of that is going to be dangerous to our overall health. So over 700 different nutrients, over 53 different ingredients. You don't want to miss this. You want to take at least 1 to 2 scoops a day. If you can't even do that, please at least take a half a scoop. We have many price reports that have come back. People just doing half a scoop. We have some people that are brushing your teeth. In fact, I just talked to a group that said they brush their teeth with your toothpaste. The last thing they do at night is swish and swallow with the Cardi Miracle.
Yeah.
With a half a cup of Cardi Miracle. And I'm like, that's brilliant. We don't need those mouthwashes anymore.
Especially chlorhexidine. Stay away from that.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, guys, this is only the beginning. I thank you so much for being on this Pulsebeat show with us. As always, the beautiful Elizabeth and, Dr. Joe and Dr. Tom, thank you so much for picking up the gauntlet and helping to save lives. I really believe that, you guys are on the forefront of being able to teach and educate people that are in your field as well. So again, thank you and God bless, and tune in to the next show in the Pulsebeat. And again, go back. There's the codes that are available to you. So you can go ahead and start being healthier from the head to toe. Right, Dr. Tom?
Thank you. You got it. Thank
God bless everybody.
Thanks, Joe.
Thanks, Lisa. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Love you guys.
See you guys. Bye, Elizabeth.
Me too.
See you guys. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.